I'm Justin Krell, Technical Team Agronomist for Eastern Minnesota. Today I really want to stress and talk about the importance of going out, looking at our corn stands, and trying to help make determinations on what our yields are going to be for 2021, but also what changes we can make to our planting operation for 2022. So in order to do that, obviously we need to get out here, we need to get a tape measure out, we need to be looking at our stands, and there's definitely things to take into consideration. On calls that we get for poor emergence or poor stands, as we get out there, what factors may have caused that, and there are a lot. First off, obviously weather, our soil conditions, soil temperatures, that's a huge one. Two, planting depth. Planting depth makes a huge difference when it comes to plant stand establishment. Third, downforce. What kind of downforce do we have? What kind of closing force do we have? The actual planter operation. And a subset of that would be singulation and spacing, which we'll go over as well. And a combination with that is did we have correct residue management? That's also another one. So all of these really affect plant stand. But the big thing today is I want to come out here and I want to help you find what can be improved as we go into the year. So, the first thing we talked about, target population. Depending on what row you're in, if you're in 30-inch rows, we're going to stake out 1/1000th of an acre, 17 feet, 5 inches, and we're going to go and count. So in an area, and especially if you're variable rate, you're going to want to have your variable rate maps with you so you get the correct target population. We want to count. How close did we come? Are we 5% off, 10% off? And remember, we're not going to, if we plant 36,000, we're not going to come up with 36,000. So we want to, like I said, we want to take that into consideration. Next is we want to go down and look at, do we have any late emergers? How even are our stands? And as we come along here, we can see a lot of evenness. There's one that's behind. Why is that important? Here's another actual one that's behind next to it. So as we look in, so why is this? Why is that a big deal? Well, in a study we've done for the last 2 years here in southeastern Minnesota, we found that for every 12 hours difference in corn emergence, we're seeing anywhere from 12 to 18 bushel difference for every 12 hours. We did this over 2 years and replicated that. And part of the issue is now that becomes competition. Ear size is smaller. It's getting shaded by its neighbors, and really is at a disadvantage when it comes especially to reproduction. So we really want to try and eliminate those. Other than that, I really see a very consistent stand. So the next one we talked about was planting depth. I encourage digging up 4, 5, 6 plants in a row. How consistent was my depth? If you find that you're moving a quarter to a half an inch, obviously that's going to affect your plant stand. What factors could be, what could I change? What preventative actions could I take? One is downforce. It's very possible we did not have enough downforce, so that planter unit was able to ride up and not get to the depth that you had your planter set at. So obviously increasing downforce. Typically on years like this, especially in dry years, we're much better off over applying, and that's even sometimes in wet years, we're better off over applying downforce, to keep that depth consistent and keep that planter in the ground. So the other thing I want to look at, let's look at plant spacing. So as we go along, we want to be looking at the plant spacing all the way through here. And so as you look, I'm really happy with our plant spacing. The best thing to do is actually come out, take a tape measure, and count at every plant, measure the difference of spacing in between each of them. Is it 6 inches one time? Is it 5.5 the next? And do this for, 1/1000th of an acre and come up with what your standard deviation is. So what we find is for every 1 inch of standard deviation, we're looking at 2 to 4 bushel yield loss just because of inadequate spacing. So that is definitely something to take a look at. How can that be fixed? It might be something within your meter that can be done on a test stand. It might be something, seed size related. Maybe we didn't quite have the right vac pressure set. Maybe our brushes weren't working quite right. Just could be something mechanical within the planter. So I encourage you to get out, take a look at your stands. Makes a huge impact for obviously your 2022 crop at this point, but I think it's just very good to help identify any issues that need to be fixed for the 2022 issue. With that, I'm Justin Carell with this week's Agronomy Tip of the Week.